All right, you guys. So we don't really have too much to go over today. We want to keep it pretty basic, pretty simple. Because if you think about it, the market is not really difficult or complex. It's really simple. And if you stick to the fundamentals and the basics and just a couple of things, you are going to leave the market more green than red. First off, I did want to give Rich the floor. Wanted to let him, kind of talk to you guys a little bit about trading psychology. He's gonna talk about FOMO and greed. Um, Also, just understand, yes, the market is giving very big opportunities lately, like moving $20 up, $20 down. This can leave a lot of room for you to be greedy, for you to revenge trade. Maybe you lost, you want to get it back. You're like, "Oh man, I got to get back in." Like the market is not your friend. It's there to manipulate you. And let's face it, they don't want you to make money. Because if they did, they would make it easier. They would make it just, all day you would see the candles just going in one direction, right? It's not meant to be for everyone. So do not fall into the tricks that they set up, like the tricks and the traps that they set up for you. Okay. We're trying to teach you a strategy. So if you follow this, even if you just take one thing from the class and you apply that, you will be more green than you are red. And that is just a fact. So, like I said, do not be a victim to the tricks and the traps the market sets every day, because the market repeats itself and does the same thing every day. So I'm going to go ahead and let Rich speak a little bit on some trading psychology. Rich, you there? You can unmute yourself, Rich.
Yeah, my fault. Yeah, I'm
Yep,
trying
go
to
ahead.
unmute myself. Yeah, hello? Y'all can
Yep.
hear me?
Yep.
You said yeah, y'all can hear me? My bad. It's like a little
No,
noisy
you're
over here.
good. You're good. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, okay, yeah. Now I hear you perfect. All right, so yeah, what like basically what Brinks was saying. Um, so on days like today, right, where we have like the market's like super volatile and we're getting these big moves like up and down basically. So on days like today when like she was saying, if you're up, like let's say, all right, so on days like that you can make a lot of money, right? That's very obvious. You can make a lot of money on days like today, right? But if it was by chance, so in other words, if you just jumped into a put or a call just because you know like, oh, the market's pumping or the market's dumping, like it's pretty easy to jump into something when it's falling or when it's just shooting up, right? But if you don't know why or what are the levels, it could just be by chance and then you could just lose it all right away. Like the same way you made it just as fast, you could lose it just as fast. You know what I mean? If you don't know what's your exit or what's the entry and stuff like that. So just keep in mind that you don't want to be taking trades just because you see the market is just falling. I mean, it's cool, yeah, if you want to take like a risk, but remember, it's a risk. You're not taking a trade because of some type of analytics or it broke a certain level or some type of news came out. You're just taking it because you're following the trend, right? Which is cool. The trend is your friend. But just keep in mind that the trend will only keep going until a certain level, right? So to fill a certain gap, right? So these are the things you got to keep in mind. And sometimes those gaps could be fake outs. Like this morning, I know a lot of people that probably was thinking like, "Yo, this gap is gonna fill," and I know I was one of them. And then it never even filled. You know what I'm saying? It broke a certain level, looked like it was gonna fill the gap, and then it never did. It just started coming down, right? So these are the things you got to pay attention to because if you're not paying attention to that, there's people that might have thrown their whole life savings into a call this morning thinking like, oh yeah, we're gonna fill this huge gap, and then you get this big pullback, and now you're like, oh shit, I fucked up. You know what I mean? So that also comes with the unit size. Don't forget about keeping your unit size the same, guys. I keep stressing this because I know people are still making the mistake, especially for the new people on here. Unit size is very important, right? So when you do get into the wrong play, let's say if your first play doesn't work out, you could always get into the second one with the same amount of money, and the second play could give you a lot more than you won. I mean, the second play could give you profits plus what you lost on the last one. You understand? So just make sure you unit size correctly and don't go into a play too heavy where you're gonna get all emotional over the trade. Where like if you down 10, 15%, you're gonna be freaking out. You know what I'm saying? like nobody should be freaking out if their play is down 10, 15%. So just keep in mind, yeah, like try not to go too heavy on these plays. Like trade accordingly, and when you're in a trade, to add to that, if let's say, like I said, you're in calls like this morning thinking it's gonna fill this gap, and then you see that it's coming down. Especially for new traders, I just want to bring this up. I think this applies to all traders in reality, but just keep in mind that I know, like me for example, I'm very religious. I know everybody has their own beliefs. I know everybody like you know like I said, they got their own faiths and beliefs and stuff like that. To each their own. But whatever it is that you believe in, whatever God you pray to, just keep that separate from trading, please. Don't ever mix one with the other. I don't want people to get those things confused, and because it has nothing to do with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, just to give an example, I remember when I first started trading, I would get into the wrong play, let's say, and when it wasn't going my way, I'll quickly be like praying to God, oh God, please help me with this trade. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I I'll make sure to take the trash out every day. My mom asks me to. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, some dumb shit. You know what I'm saying? And it has nothing to do with God. It has nothing to do with any religion or any faith or anybody or anything that you believe in. It has nothing to do with that because He's not gonna move the market, right? Or whatever faith or anything that you believe in is not gonna move the market. What moves the market is news, analytics, levels, right? So this is what we got to trade off of. So please keep those things to the side. I don't want anybody ever getting those things confused and losing their faith or losing their belief or whatever it is that they into, all because of a bad trade. Like, that has nothing to do with that. So please continue to believe in what you believe in. Keep your faith. You know what I mean? If anything, make it stronger, but don't bring it into that, and don't think like, oh, like whatever I believe in or whatever whatever I'm putting my energy into is not there or is not real or doesn't love me you know what I'm saying, the way I thought, and start losing your whatever it is. And you know what I mean, like don't ever think that, because you're gonna mix one thing with the other that has nothing to do with each other. You know what I'm saying? So make sure you always keep that in mind. Don't pray or don't hope and don't cross your fingers, and you know what I'm saying, like, because it's not gonna happen. You know what I mean? We don't do that here, so please keep that in mind. You know what I mean? I respect everybody's belief and I respect everybody's religion or whatever it is, like I said. Whatever it is, to each his own. You know what I mean? I respect everybody's, you know what I mean? Whatever it is, but just keep that separate, because praying or whatever you want, like I said, whatever you guys do is not going to help you with a play. It's just not. And like I said, I just don't want to see somebody lose their faith or lose their belief and lose whatever it is that they're into over a trade, because like I said, that has nothing to do with that. So always keep that in mind, and just always be ready to adapt to the markets as well. If I just to add to anything is, I'll say always be ready to adapt to any kind of market we're in. The reason why I say that is because I know recently we had shared like a photo, and that photo had like an I guess it was like it gave you the average of what the market would do over the year. And I know like March was supposed to be like a bullish month, and so it was April, right? It was supposed to be like a bullish month, and as you can see, we've been tanking, right? So if you have in mind like, oh, we're near the bottom, I should start buying shares, or I should, you know what I mean, let me get some long calls, but it's not working out, and then you see some type of news come out like Trump is trying to put like this 107% tariffs on China, you gotta adjust to that market, right? You gotta adjust and say, hold on, all right, maybe we're not going into a bull month, and we're just going into a bear market, and every time it pops, I should be looking for puts. You know what I'm saying? So always be ready to adjust and adapt to whatever the market gives you. You know what I mean? Because one day we could be pumping, one day we could be dumping, or we could get both in one day. You know what I mean? So always be ready to adjust, take profits, don't get greedy, and don't mix your beliefs or whatever it is with trading stocks. You know what I mean? So I don't know if anybody had any questions or if I missed anything. Brinks, let me know. But I feel like that was pretty much what I had to say for today.
Oh no, no,
So
you.
basically, keep your emotions out of it.
Yep.
Keep your emotions, keep your beliefs. You know what I mean? Your anything that doesn't have to do with news, analytics, and levels. Just, yeah, keep it separate, because it's not gonna help you trading. You know what I mean? You'll stay stuck in a trade, crossing your fingers, and it'll go to zero. And I want people to, like I said, mix one thing with the other, and then think that because they crossed their fingers and they went to zero, that whatever they believe in or pray to, you know what I mean, it's just not working for them, and then they lose that faith or whatever it is, and you know what I mean, it's just not right. You know what I mean, you shouldn't lose your faith in the fact that or whatever it is that you believe in, or if you like whatever it is that you do, you know what I'm saying. I don't know what it is, but you shouldn't lose your you know what I mean, your mojo, whatever it is that you do at home or however you were raised. You shouldn't lose that because of a bad trade. Is what I'm basically saying. You know, so
Yeah, no, I
definitely
mean,
keep your emotions out of it. You know.
exactly. Like, trading is 85% is 85% mental and is only 15% skill. So you do the math. What has a heavier emphasis is this. And never forget this, because when you're in a trade and you start feeling like, when you start to feel that adrenaline rush, you probably should take your profit. When you start to think like, oh man, I don't know, is it going to keep going up, or I need it to go up? When you start having those thoughts, you need to take your profit and get out of there. And
Yeah, I agree.
and as a trader, it is very common to get those every trade. Like, we're human at the end of the day. We are born with emotion. You're going to have this every day. And if this is something that you struggle with more than the skill, then that means your success is dependent on how you woke up that morning and how you brought yourself into the market. If you're having a really bad day, do not trade, because that will reflect on your trades that day. You might blow your whole port. You might take your whole savings account out and put it into the market because you feel some type of way. You know, so understand, like, it goes hand in hand with how you're doing in the market. And if you think it doesn't, believe me, I've blown my port plenty times enough to know that it absolutely affects that. So if you're having a bad day, or you just are not there, do not trade, because I guarantee you this will not make you feel any better. Losing $1,000, 2,000 will not make you feel good. Um, but going back off of what Rich was talking about, I know a lot of people, we were taking calls in the morning, right? But those calls, as fast as we went up, we came down. At 10:30, what is this? 10:35, that was done. It was done, right? So if you were still holding calls here and you ignored this right here, does anybody know what this candle right here is? You can unmute yourself, this little red candle. Exactly. You see, you guys know what it is, right? So please understand, and I'll write this here. Doji candles can be reversal candles. Okay? Do not forget that. Okay? And especially if we wake up and let me get rid of this. If you know that we have a gap to the upside and a gap to the downside, if you realistically look at this, we're trapped between the gap. So, the market's moving in big moves, it's going to pick a side to fill. It's going to pick a direction. And this is the type of day where, because it gapped up, look at this big gap. This was from yesterday into this morning. Let's see how much this is. So 505, then we opened where? At 520. $15. If you're going to take away anything from today, please take away this. When the market gaps up very big in one direction, it may go a little, as we open, we may pop a little bit more in that direction, but it may be running out of steam to continue. Please remember that. So before you start thinking that we have to fill this gap, what about the one that we just created? Are you going to forget that this exists? Because that's a really big mistake, right? So if you know that we have a gap here and a gap above, and then you get this candle here and you're starting to see, now this might be a little advanced. You guys see these 3 wicks here? What is getting created here up top? If you see a lot of wicks to the top, what does that represent? Like, does anybody know? Like, demand, like wicks to the bottom is demand. What is wicks pointing up? What is that? Can anybody tell me?
Supply.
Yep, supply. Supply is being created because it's struggling to keep going up. So you see 1, 2, 3. Look at these. These are, I want you to think of these as attempts. So, you know, these are attempts to go higher. And also, remember I said every 5 is a big level. Let's look to the right. What was SPY wicking at? Can anybody tell me? My mouse is right over it.
525.
Exactly. So if you know that that's the make it or break it for SPY and you're seeing it struggle to even close up there, how in the hell are we going to continue to go up if the seller said that we're not going up anymore? And then we get this type of candle. It's unrealistic to think that the market has to give you more upside. If you know we're trending down, which we've been going down for this past month and a half, why would you think that it would be so easy to just turn around, right? And that would be a normal thought, but always remember the market is setting traps for you. I can't tell you how many traders that we don't even know got, they got led into this trap. It's just like I'm trying to sell you something and you buy it without reading what I'm selling you, and turns out you just signed a contract that's going to charge you an extra $1,000 per month because you didn't read the contract. This is setting you up for failure. So please understand, when you see the same situation, you see the struggles, if you'd like to, you could get the rectangle and you could mark this. All right? And also, I tell you guys, always look to the left, right? Now look over here. Remember I said anytime we get to the bottom or the top of a gap, there will always be supply and demand. So if it's above, this is a big supply zone. Look at this wick over here. The gap starts here. Look at this wick here. So remember, the wicks pointed up are telling me sellers are all over this area. Let me extend this out. They're all over this area, technically even down here. So it's the same thing when we're drawing those zones. If we can't even get above or into this zone, we're not clearing supply. The sellers are still in control. Does this make sense, you guys? So please understand, next time you see this, look around, right? Go see where the gap starts, because if I know it's starting here, until we get inside, it's not going to be that easy to just fill this gap. If I don't see strength, and when I say strength, I mean if the buyers are not able to, push the price up into this gap zone, it's not going to happen. Maybe we're going to come down, right? Because if we're getting these big moves, if the big move is no longer going to be to the top, it's probably going to be to the downside. And I know I said I was going to tell you guys, how are you going to be able to tell that the gap to the downside was going to fill? So I know last time we were talking about the 9 EMA, the 200, and the 100. So I'm going to write over here so you guys can follow me. So the 9 EMA is the pink line. The 200 EMA is the blue line. And the 100 EMA is the white line. Okay? So remember this. Right? As I'm talking, please follow along, right? So when we are above the 9 EMA, can anybody tell me what being above the pink line means? Does anybody know? Bullish. Very good. So what happens when we're below? Does anybody know? Exactly. So above this pink line, we are bullish. You want to be looking for price action to be moving up as long as we continue to stay up. But what happens if you see a massive red candle, you get a doji, and does anybody know how to trade with the dojis? The next candle after the doji, if it closes lower like this, you could enter puts. And it's also crossing down the 9 EMA. Your confirmation candle, your entry candle is right here. It's this candle right here. Does anybody know why this candle is confirmation? Can anybody guess? Like this one right here. Does anybody have a guess? There we go. Bingo. Clean got it. So if I'm seeing a wick like this and the candle close, a rejection means everything to me because this is telling me the sellers are pushing it down. Like there is so much selling. Imagine people are grabbing puts here. If I see the next candle reject this line, I'm taking puts, right? And then the next question you might have is, well, how do I know like where it's going to stop? Well, that's a great question, right? So if we see where the market open up, we look to the left, look at all these wicks. So I know the first test is going to be here, right? So I drew a little box over here. My first test is going to be here. And remember what I said, when we get to the beginning of these gaps, there is always going to be a little bit of a struggle because if it's such a big move, they're not going to want to let go of their territory so fast. The buyers are not going to want to give this up so fast. So what happened? Look, there was even a green candle here, but does anybody know, like Rich likes a certain pattern. Can anybody tell me what pattern we've got here with these candlesticks here? Anybody tell me? Yep, exactly. So if you're trading that pattern, you're waiting for what candle after the three candles? You're waiting for what candle to enter? Exactly. So if you miss this, you get a whole nother pattern right here. You enter at the green one and you take this to the next level, which is our blue line, which is the 200 EMA.
Write that down. Just write down entry candle next to that.
Yeah, let me do that right now.
That'll be the entry candle. So that on that candle would be where you enter your puts, and you could take that nice little rod down to the bottom of that wick.
You get like 3-4 red bars like that, and you see a green bar, it would never reverse, or just.
I don't want to say it would never reverse. It's a high probability play. You know what I'm saying? So the chances on it are very high. Is what I would say. But nothing ever is 100% in the market. I don't think there's honestly a pattern out there that's 100%.
Exactly. Exactly. But also, I could ask you guys, what shape of a flag, what type of flag is this? Anybody know what type of flag? Exactly. So, and what are we under? What line are we under? Exactly. So you now have so many things to check off your list. Like, okay, I want to know if this is going to continue. We couldn't even get back above the 90 MA. I'm forming a bear flag. I've got 3 red candles. I got a green one. It's forming an L, right? It's forming an L shape. I've got about 3 things to check off my list, and I haven't even begun to talk about the RSI. Can anybody tell me what's going on with the RSI right here? Exactly. No, it's overbought, Jim. Yep. No, you're good. So if it's overbought, I'm getting a doji, and I see this cross down on my pink line, my 90 MA. We've got a lot. So we've got the RSI's overbought, right? We've got a doji. We've got a candle crossing down the 90 MA. This is very bearish. This is not just one thing I'm getting. I'm getting RSI. What is that? 1, doji 2, candle crossing down. This is 3 things I'm getting. The more you could check off your list that you're looking at, the better the trade, right? And that also, like, I know a guy just asked, like, how do you know, like, this will happen every time? Of course, nothing is 100%. The market makers, they're not going to do that. But what you can do to ensure that it is a better looking trade is, okay, is there a bear flag being formed? I get this big red candle, 50% of this red candle, look at this. It comes up halfway and it rejects, right? And also, don't forget about this demand box. Look where we are right here. It's wicking down. That means it can't even get back up here. It's under the 9 and boom, next candle coming down, right? So if you missed up here, which this is the top of the drop, that's okay because there is always another train coming around. It's like if you ever catch the metro, they have buses coming every 15 minutes. Why are you in a rush to catch this specific one? If you know that they're going to be coming every 15, it's okay to be late. There's another one. So In trading, it's the same thing. You missed the first bus.
Chase the fucking bus.
Exactly. Exactly. Some people, they will chase it and they'll break a sweat, ruin all their work clothes, but you don't have to be the one that does that, right? Because what sense does that make if it ended up coming down almost $30? Tell me what bus was not going to come back around and pick you up to get here. What exactly are you missing if you've got the rest of the day and the rest of the confirmation to take this?
And just to add to that, just to add to this little patterns that are going on right here. If you really look at it, so you got the small bear flag that we spoke of, right under the demand. And if you really like zoom it out, there's a bigger bear flag being created.
Right here.
Right. So if you really pay attention, sometimes you can see the bigger pictures. Like I was saying, it's always good to zoom out. When in doubt, zoom it out. That's what I like to say. That's why I say always look at your weeklies, your monthlies, different timesheets, because even when you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, you can see what's coming. So if you see that small bear flag, then you see it creates this bigger bear flag on the way down. So it just created this huge bear flag now, and that bear flag that it created, that bigger bear flag, is what led to that huge drop that we got after. You know what I mean? Especially right after that 9 MA crossed the what's that? What MA is that you got there?
The pink one is the 9.
And the blue one.
The blue one's the 200.
So yeah, so you see the 9 crossing the 200. That's also a very big sign. Like you know what I mean? So you got that big bear flag. It's 9 crossing the 200, and then we get this big dump right after, as you can see. So that's another sign I just want to point out. You know what I mean? To keep in mind when you see small little patterns like a small bear flag, or maybe you see three red soldiers. Sometimes those patterns you'll see it again, just in bigger.
Right here. Look, here's the 3 red candles. 1, 2, 3, green. Enter here. Boom.
Right. So you know you can always those patterns pop up, and they'll show themselves like Brink said every 15 minutes or so, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't get into one, don't worry. There's gonna be another, right? So
Exactly. And if you missed the doji up here, look, there's another one right here. Another doji. And then what happened? We closed under. So you could have technically entered somewhere around here. And look, we keep rejecting this pink line. We can't get over it. And look, we're also rejecting the pink and the blue. And if you want to know where are we going next, look at the white line. This is our 100 EMA. So basically all the price did was move from one level to the next and then to the next level. And then we ended up filling the gap. And then we came down even more. First, we came down here, and this would be my first demand after the gap, right? Look at all these clusters. So if we break here, I'm going to zoom out like Rich likes to say, right? Zoom it out. Look down here. This is my next set. And then look right here. My other set. Right there. So you got to understand, like, you know, there are multiple entries. If you missed, let's say you're not in the morning live, you missed the calls, you didn't get a chance to take these puts. We hopped back on live around like 12:45, and when I saw this happening right here. I called puts right here, and we took this thing down, and we all printed off of that. I wouldn't have called it if it didn't. I called it right here. You guys see how we broke this white line and this candle came up and it rejected my white line? Look at the wick. That told me, hey, the sellers are still so strong that they're not going to be able to push this back up. And we're still under the 9, under the blue, and under the white. Can anybody tell me the shape that this just created? The same one. What type of flag is this? Bear flag, exactly. And look, it keeps bear flagging down. One here. I'll draw it out. I know people are visual, but look at this. Boom. Comes up for the flag, right? And then we drop again. And then what happens? We create the flag. And then just to drop again, we come up again. And we're still under this 9 EMA, mind you, right? Bear flagging down. We come down. Then we make a bigger flag, right? And then look what happens. Come down again. And then look, we did it again. Oh, somebody, you gotta mute yourself.
I was just about to say that.
Now you're good.
I got a question. So I'm sending out my trading view. How do you do to put the bottom part to put the lines for the overbought and oversold?
For the RSI, right here.
Yeah, on the bottom. Yeah, that.
If you just type in RSI and you just put the relative, if you click the relative strength index, and you can go ahead and hit the stars, so it'll be under your favorites, but this is the RSI. Mm-hmm.
Indicators up here. Gotcha.
Yep. Yep, no problem. But do you guys remember how we talked about what trend meant last class? Can anybody like tell me like what trend is? Basically, does anybody remember what trend is, like what we talked about last time?
The movement on the price action.
Yep, it's dealing with the price action. And if I had to ask you what direction we're trending, so if I'm seeing a bunch of bear flags, that means we're trending down, right? So if you start to see bear flag, bear flag, bear flag, we are in a downtrend. So you should be looking for puts and not calls, right? You should be looking to enter at a flag, right? So you would never, since when a bear flag is made, I'm going to make it over here. So you'll have the pole, right? And then you'll have the flag. And sometimes if the pole is this big, you can expect the flag to come all the way up to half of the pole. And this right here is a bear flag, right? And we come up 50% of the way. So if we're trending down and you're looking for an entry, wait for the V shape and you get in for puts here, because the next leg down would take you here. And then the price, it'll do the same thing. So on days like today, if you see that we are in the gap fill, we are breaking through all these EMA lines, we are going to fill the gap. There's no question. Once you break through all three of these and you get a continuation, like more bear flags, that's just telling you, hey, we're going down. And then you see our 9 EMA, we keep wicking. Look at these rejections. Reject, 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 right? So you have to understand that there are so many times of the day where you can enter, right? I know a lot of you guys work, so maybe you can't trade the morning. Maybe like the afternoon isn't good for you. Maybe right before lunch is. Understand there are so many opportunities all over the chart. We even had a guy trade Tesla, okay? So Tesla was moving down with the market. Look, it filled the gap, but what is it doing on the EMAs? It's crossing down all of them. This is an amazing trade right here, right? And something I want to show you guys that we talk about all the time. Let me pull up QQQ. All right. On my left is Qs. All right. Let me, I think VIX is up here. Okay. So my VIX is, let me see if I can get, 1 second. Okay, hold on, let me... Okay. So, if the market is moving down, does anybody know what will be moving up? As the market is moving down, what should be moving up? Can anybody tell me? Exactly. So, if you are just wanting to trade QQQ or SPY or IWM, what you should do is, if you can, like, split the screen into two, you should be watching the VIX as well. Because just the same way how we were crossing down these EMAs, look what the VIX was doing. So if you were scared about grabbing puts, now does anybody remember what this green candle with no wicks is called? This one right here. This is PJ's favorite candle right here. Bullish engulfing. A candle with no wicks. It could be a bearish engulfing if it's red, but no wicks and it's green. Bullish engulfing. And look, there's multiple. So if I see the VIX crossing up my 9 EMA, and also, can anybody tell me on the RSI for the VIX, where's the VIX RSI? Down here. You guys see how it's at the bottom? It's under 30. Exactly. So the VIX was oversold and Q's was overbought. So that's already one thing. That means that if the VIX is oversold, it has to come up. And if Q's is overbought, it has to come down. I'm getting a doji on Q's. I'm crossing down. I'm crossing up on the VIX. This is a great time for puts. So if you were scared or you second guessed yourself, this is even more confirmation seeing the VIX is starting to go up. How would this have changed how you looked at maybe cutting those calls and getting into puts? That would have made a really big difference because, and I'm not telling you to revenge trade, because if you're thinking clearly and you are using your strategy, there's nothing wrong with being like, you know what? Calls are done. I'm adapting. I'm going for puts. I see the signs. I'm going to apply what I'm learning. Nothing wrong with that. But like Rich was saying, if you're getting in and you don't know why, you should not be getting in, right? So that's basically abandoning ship. You're just willing to risk it all. So you shouldn't even be mad if you lose it all because you didn't even give yourself the chance to figure out what was going on, right? So we want to connect 2 and 2. So Q's is moving down, the VIX should be moving up. I'm good for calls. So the same way how we went from the 9 EMA to the, we got the white line, because I'll tell you this, when the market is moving up, the EMAs are flipped. You see how when we're coming down, the 200 is right under the 9 and the 100 is down here. If you guys notice, when we're moving up, the 100 is on top of the 9 and the 200 is the last one. So understand, you see the 200's in the middle, but now on the upside, the 100 is in the middle. So if on the VIX, I already passed that pink line, my next destination is what? Can anybody tell me? For the VIX, my next destination from here is going to be what? Exactly. See, Ant, you're getting it. It's clicking, right? So if I know the VIX has all this space to move, I'm holding my puts till this blue line. It just makes sense to me. Even if I don't catch the rest of the move, I don't care. Because this is, what is this? Let's see. From here, 440 all the way down to 432, you're telling me you wouldn't be happy with an $8 move? I think you'd be pretty happy. You'd be pretty happy with that, right? But you'll never get to experience this if you don't try this, if you're not looking around, right? And then look, what happened after we got to the 100 EMA? We came down. Can anybody tell me what we held here? What did we hold? Exactly. And then what happened after we left the 9 EMA? What did we do to the 100? What did we do? Exactly. And where did we go after the 100 EMA got broke? Exactly. And what happened after we broke that? We just, what kind of flag is this on the upside? Bull flag. So when it's moving up, I'm looking for bull flag. So if the VIX is trending up, I know it's safe to grab these puts. These bear flags make sense. Right? So it's just, if you could put 2 and 2 together, this could be so much more easy and less stressful. And I guarantee you guys, you're more stressed out when you don't understand what the hell just happened. Right? Nobody wants to go into a trade and be confused as to why it didn't go their way. Nobody likes that. I don't like that, right? It's just, along the lines, we probably forgot to look at something. We forgot to keep something in mind, and we just ignored it. Sometimes as traders, we can be in denial. Like, I'm telling you, and it's okay, but you cannot allow that to take over what's actually going on, because that's going to get in front of your money. That's going to keep you red, and you're never going to go green, right? You might have one green day out of the month because you're in denial, right? If I'm in calls, I'm like, man, I really want this to gap fill. If I see this doji and we're breaking the 9 and I'm still holding my calls, I'm in denial and I'm not trusting myself that I should have cut those calls and grabbed puts instead. That's called denial right there. You don't want to be the person that's always in denial because you got trust issues with yourself, and that's the worst thing to have. You have to begin to build the confidence so that you could do this and you could feel good about it. And just like Rich said, there's always bear flags being formed. And when I zoom out here, I'm also realizing, look at this. We go down, we go up. So this is a bear flag. And look, boom, we come down again.
When you set all those lines up, is it through the indicators?
Yeah. I'll let you know at the end which indicator it's at. I dropped it under the market news. I mean under the market notes. It's dropped under there. But I'll go after it once I finish. But yeah, so like okay. But there are bear flags, bull flags being created everywhere, right? So, you know, whether you're trading Qs, Tesla, Nvidia, they're everywhere. Like I'll pull up Nvidia right now. And just, you know, a keynote for you guys, a bunch of the tech stocks like Microsoft, Meta, even like Tesla has some ownership into Qs, I believe, or into SPY. A lot of the times the charts look the same. So if I'm looking at Nvidia and Qs, can anybody tell me, like, do these charts look the same? They look the same to me. Look at this. They both have gaps. They both cross down. So if you're looking for a trade and maybe QQQ's contracts are too expensive, check Nvidia. If the charts are looking the same, you could trade them the same way. I know somebody took Tesla. Tesla looks the same as Q's. I'm not telling you to trade Tesla, but I'm telling you there are options, right? Look at IWM. Contracts will always be cheaper. Moving the same way, right? Let's look at Meta. Same way. This gap right here from Meta, 540 to 515. That's a lot of money. A lot of money. So if you're like, oh man, I don't know what to trade, look around. Let's go to another one. Let's look at Microsoft. Look at Microsoft. We could do another one. What's another one? Let's look at MU. Same thing. Let me look at SPY. Same thing. You could really kill the market. You could be getting puts for SPY and Qs and kill it twice at the same time. If they're doing the same thing, murder it. Take advantage of it. These days, I'm telling you guys, like, I know the markets are crazy right now. They're not always going to move like this, right? If you know what you're doing, these are amazing times for you. But if you don't know and you're still working on your strategy, then this is the time to really nail that strategy, get it down so you can take advantage of these moves, right? Looking back on the day, it looks way easier now than it was live. But this is how it plays out, just like yesterday, right? So, and the day before that, it's just like every time it's going to look like, man, I really should have been doing this when I saw that. I second guessed myself. It played out exactly like in these classes when we go over it, right? I kind of want to hear more about people telling me, oh man, I actually entered here and it went my way. I don't really like to hear people saying, oh man, I didn't do it, or, you know, I messed up because I just abandoned ship. You know, when you tell me that, it's like you're not listening, right? So I want to hear more people like executing and listening, right? Send me a screenshot. Take a screenshot in the Discord. You guys, we have an area over here. Where is it? Trade analysis. Look at this, right? You could send your screenshot, talk about your analysis, what you're seeing, and people will comment on your ideas. Or you could just leave your screenshot here so we could talk about it later. Like, there's so many options for you, so many things that you may not even be using to your advantage, right? So the whole thing about this is we just want to take advantage of these opportunities and make some money. I know there's a guy on here. He was trading at the beach like 2 weeks ago off of his trading profits. We could have, off of this trade, we all could have been in Puerto Rico or in Cancun right now trading on the beach. That sounds way better than trading from a seat. So, you know, write your goals down, write your strategy down, right? Have a checklist, follow something. Because when you're following nothing, I wouldn't expect anything. But if you're following a strategy, look for the strategy, wait for the setup, and take it. Take it. That's all I gotta say. For that. Now let me see if I got anything else under here. Rejections. Okay. 2 more things, and then we'll go ahead and end this. So, one thing I want to let you guys know. When the VIX is above $20, I know you've heard me say this, everything starts to get expensive. But also, the higher the VIX goes, the more expensive stuff will get, and also the bigger the moves the market will have during the day and overnight. So, normally a couple months ago, we were not getting $20, $30 movement days. We were getting maybe 5, 10, 15 at the most. The higher the VIX goes, the bigger the moves. Why does this matter to you? Look at the move that happened today. This is a life-changing move, and I'm not saying that lightly. This could have paid all your bills probably 2 months out. This definitely could have paid, like, you could have put triple on a credit card right here with this. And I'm not even joking. You could have done so much with this money right here. This could have instilled so much confidence in you, you would have been a different person, right? I'm not telling you to chase this. I'm telling you to strategize this, to train yourself to eventually be able to take this, right? So understand, the higher this VIX goes, the bigger the moves. Aren't you noticing? 2 weeks ago it was at 20, came back up. Now we're getting big moves again. So understand, you're going to see the market make gaps. You're going to see it fill gaps. We have 2 big gaps to the upside. So tomorrow, maybe we gap down, maybe we gap up. I don't know. But another thing, the last thing, tonight at midnight, they are putting 104% tariffs for China. These go in effect tonight at midnight Eastern time. So the market, we are either going to wake, and they were saying that they are open to negotiations with China. So if China negotiates and they figure something out, that's going to be really bullish because that's good. But if they just get angry and throw more tariffs in the US, it's not going to be too good, right? That's why we did initiate a strangle, which we bought a call and a put so we can capitalize on any big move to either side that happens overnight. And also, last thing about news and regarding what is happening tomorrow. So not just those tariffs tonight, but let me go to Wednesday. All right. Let me see where it's at.
Trump signed order imposing 50% tariffs on China.
Yep. There's just going to be more updates on that. But tonight, that's that 104%. But tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern. Does anybody see what's going on here? Can somebody tell me what the biggest thing going on tomorrow at 2 p.m.? Anybody know? FOMC. All right. This is not the biggest report because the Powell is not speaking, but this is a pretty big report. So something that you guys can see tomorrow with the price action, please understand, like, FOMC is not a joke, right? It's a really big report. Maybe in the first half from 9:30 to 10:30, maybe 11, maybe we're going to get normal moves. The closer we get to FOMC, you might start to see the price chop. And what does chop mean? You're just going to see the candlesticks huddled up like this in a small little range, right? When they release the FOMC, you could see the market continue to chop. You could see it make a big move up or down. It's that's just what happens during an FOMC. It's just FOMC minutes, so Powell is not speaking, but it can have a big effect depending on what they announce, right? It's doing with the interest rates, inflation, stuff like that. And then the news is not over. Thursday is going to be another big day. We have inflation reports, all right? These are very big for the market. So Thursday could be a potential big day. We've got CPI, and also Friday, another big day. What do we have Friday? PPI. These are massive reports. So please understand, if you missed today, do not feel some type of way. Tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday, I'm sure will fill your pockets up just as much as a day like today. But that's all I got for today.